Howdy folks, bonus video today. Hope you've all been having a good weekend and welcome back to Phase 2 of the Elite Dangerous Odyssey alpha test. So, I've taken on a mission to get up to no good at, well, you can see it coming up ahead, the Adebayo Biochemical Exploration Facility. Not entirely sure what it is they do there, don't really care. I've been hired to clear the place out of scavengers, and that's what I intend to do. Unfortunately, while my experience in Phase 1 of the alpha test was largely bug-free, the same cannot be said of Phase 2. My game just crashed to desktop while attempting to land at my mission destination. Now, while it's true that in the first phase of the alpha test I came across any number of things that could be considered bugs, but I very, very rarely, in fact I think only once, ever suffered a crash to the menu or all the way back to the desktop. But it does seem to be happening a lot in the second phase, particularly when I'm trying to land my ship anywhere, which is kind of ironic given that one of the whole points of the second phase is that you finally get to fly your own ship. And I do get to fly my own ship. I've spent plenty of time flying my brand new Diamondback Explorer all around the Odyssey system. I just don't seem to be able to land it anywhere other than on an orbital station. Every time I try to land on a planet, something goes wrong. Now, the smart arses amongst you at this point are no doubt thinking, well, that's not exactly unusual, is it, Jingles? They don't call them Jingles landings for nothing. The fact that I keep crashing when I attempt to land shouldn't come as a surprise, but, well, it's not that kind of crash, is it? I suppose on the bright side I should be grateful that it's not automatically failing the mission every time I suffer a crash back to the main menu or a crash to desktop. Fortunately, when I log back into the game, I'm still at the controls of my ship, the mission is still active. Unfortunately, it has this nasty habit of depositing me not quite in orbit, about 50 kilometers away from the destination, which means I have to do the journey to the landing pad on thrusters, and that takes forever. But hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained. This time around, and I've skipped forward quite a bit, this is now my third attempt to land at this facility. I again crashed desktop on the second attempt, and the third time I thought, I'm not going to bother requesting landing clearance, and I'm not going to attempt to land on the landing pad. Instead, I'm just going to put down on the ground some way outside of the settlement. And it turns out that this is a valid workaround. On the plus side, in this second phase of the alpha test, the game has addressed one of my concerns from the first phase, where you're sent to what's supposed to be an empty settlement, only to find it crawling with hostile scavengers. And upon accepting this mission, while en route, I received a message from the mission giver letting me know that some scavengers had taken up residence and offering me a bonus if I were to kill all of them. So the basic plan here is to go in on foot in the Dominator combat suit, kill the scavengers, then come back, get into the Maverick suit, which is equipped with the arc cutter tool, and with any potential opposition neutralized, take my time in the Maverick suit using the arc cutter tool to cut through any doors that need cutting through. And it was around about this point that a sudden thought occurred to me, because it's still quite a long walk to the settlement, and I'm going to be on suit battery power the whole way. Fighting scavengers, and that's going to drain suit battery power even further as the battery is used to replenish my shields. But why don't I use the surface reconnaissance vehicle? The Diamondback Explorer has an SRV hangar bay, and if I find myself low on power or oxygen, all I have to do is jump into the cockpit of the Scarab and everything gets instantly replenished. So, boarded the Diamondback, deployed the surface reconnaissance vehicle, and yeah, it makes sense. This sounds like the logical thing to do. Of course, it's been a really long time since I actually used the Scarab in Elite, so I had to first go into the control menu and rebind the controls to what I was used to. And even when I managed to get the Scarab moving, I couldn't remember what keybind actually used the Scarab's targeting system, so I had to go back into the menu and refresh that. But then it occurred to me, why do I need to dismount from the Scarab at all? The Scarab has shields, it has armour, and it has a turret. Why don't I just take out the scavengers from the safety and comfort of the Scarab. I don't have to dismount and take them out on foot at all. I mean, this makes sense. The Scarab has better shields and armour than the Dominator suit. Let's give it a try, see if it works. So apparently there are 5 of them. Okay, difficult to tell at this point which one's closest. I did of course need to actually go into the Scarab's fire groups and assign a fire group to the SRV's dual repeaters. Like I said, it's been a long time since I actually drove a Scarab in Elite, and this was the first time in the alpha test, so of course I had to set up the keybinds for the weapon turret as well. There's a bad guy over there. Come on, lock on, it's locked on. Okay, so I've gained a fine for violating a no combat zone. 100 credits. Well, they were going to shoot me on sight anyway, so I haven't really lost anything by this. And yeah, I'm actually picking up a 2,500 credit bounty for each kill, more in some cases, depending on how much these guys were worth, which more than compensates for any fines that I'm incurring. So the Scarab shields have been shot down, but the armour's still holding up. I should probably put some more power to weapons. 2 down, 3 to go. Oh, there's one. Turn the Scarab to allow the turret to track. Nope, nope. Like I said, it's been a long time since I did this. I'm not particularly good at it. But this is far safer than engaging these guys on foot. And the bounties that I'm getting for killing these scavengers is more than taking care of the fine that I'm incurring for violating a no combat zone. 3 down, 2 to go. On the one hand, hooray! This is making things a lot easier than it otherwise would have been. On the other hand, I am kind of supposed to be testing on foot combat. That's what the second phase of the alpha test is for. But hey, this works. The dual repeaters on the SRV are not actually that good at taking down targets on foot, but they can do it. Something that you can't actually do in a ship. People were saying, well, what's to stop you from just strafing the settlement in a ship? If you remember when I was chasing the Guardian frameshift drive booster in one of my playthroughs many months ago, I got into exactly that kind of situation whilst trying to take out Guardian sentries by jumping into my ship and trying to do exactly that. The problem is that you can't lock onto a ground target unless you're at extremely close range in a ship, and even then, shipborne weapons have a hell of a time trying to track and lock onto any kind of ground targets as small as somebody on foot. The SRV, on the other hand, absolutely can. It's one of the things that the SRV was designed for. Let's give this guy a scan, see if there's any additional bounty on them. And there is, 5,700 credits. Awesome. Let's check out the rest of them. Now, when people were watching videos of the conflict zones that came out in the second phase of the alpha test, they were asking the same question. And there's an additional complicating factor if you try to get clever and strafe the enemy in your ship. Hang on a minute, what's that floating in the air in front of me? Oh, those are impact decals. That's where the SRV was when the scavengers were shooting at me. The impact textures appear to have been stuck. Oh well, whatever. Anyway, yeah, addressing the question of why you can't just take advantage of ship-mounted weapons to strafe enemies in a ground conflict zone. Aside from the fact that I've already explained that it's next to impossible to actually lock ship-mounted weapons onto a target that's on foot, when you're over a conflict zone in a ship, it's impossible to tell who's on which side. So not only can you not lock onto targets on the ground from a ship, certainly nothing as small as a person on foot, you can't even identify which ones you should be attempting to lock onto in the first place. Right, anyway, with the scavengers taken care of, and that's a 50,000 credit mission bonus by the way, On top of anything that I earned from claiming the bounties on the heads of the individual scavengers, it's now safe for me to transfer into the Maverick suit, and I wasn't sure whether or not I'd actually be able to do that in the SRV. I know I can do it in the cockpit of my ship. Let's have a go. Yep, there's a loadout button. And I'm now in the Maverick suit, complete with the arc cutter tool. Another reason why you probably don't want to try to get involved in a ground conflict while at the controls of a ship is because while it is very difficult for you to identify or lock onto anybody that needs shooting, it is extremely easy for them to shoot back. And I'm not entirely sure whether or not... Well, how can I put this? Let's just say it is possible... I don't have clearance. Let me just switch to... Yeah, we'll try overloading the charge port. There we go. That got the door open. It's possible for you to punch a ship to death. Okay. Need to find out where I'm going, so I'm going to charge up this terminal. Yeah, while it's really difficult for somebody in a ship to directly affect the outcome of a ground battle, unless you're just using dumbfire explosive weapons like rocket launchers, for example, in which case you stand as much chance of damaging the enemy as you do the friendlies, the reverse is not true. It is very difficult for somebody on foot to not be able to hit something the size of a ship if the ship comes down and gets close enough to get shot at, which it pretty much has to in order to try to make use of its weapons. And I've seen footage of somebody putting this to the test, where a guy on foot with a laser pistol destroyed a Mark III Cobra. And it didn't take them long to achieve this. The Cobra, of course, was attempting to fight back. And if it did hit the guy on foot, it did deplete his shields in pretty much one shot, but it wasn't able to consistently hit him often enough in order to finish the job. The Cobra actually stood no chance. Now, whether or not somebody armed with a laser pistol should be able to destroy a multi-million credit starship is another question. But it does mean that it is theoretically possible for somebody on foot to punch an anaconda to death. Right? In fact, it's not just theoretically possible, it can be done. Something that I am not entirely sure should be possible, but it is, at least at the moment. That strikes me as something that desperately needs to be fixed. Meanwhile, I've completed the mission. I've also completed the bonus objective, clear out the scavengers, by basically cheating. Well, it's not cheating. I like that there's more than one way to skin a cat here. I mean, yeah, I could have run in on foot. There were only 5 of them. I probably would have been able to take care of 5. In the Dominator suit. It's a shame we don't have access to the plasma weapons anymore, and I'm stuck with the same shitty assault rifle and laser pistol that I had in the first phase. But hey, with the Dominator suit I do have access to 2 primary weapon slots, so I've also packed a rocket launcher just in case. I would have probably been able to deal with 5 scavengers. And then do this the way that you are supposed to. Get into the Maverick suit, and then do what I'm doing here. I've already found the mission objective, and now I'm just running around checking for loot. But I like that there's other ways to do it, in the same way that there's more than one way to get through a sealed door. You can steal someone's security access to enable access to whatever's on the other side of a door, or you can cut through the maintenance panel and overcharge the door controls, or you can use an e-breach hacking tool to override the door's access panel. More than one way, 3 ways in fact, of getting the same thing done. And I like it when games do that. So the fact that I was able to complete this particular mission by going off book, if you like, and adopting an unorthodox approach, is something that I do feel is a definite step in the right direction. Oh, bugger. That door's sealed from the other side. I mean, I could cut through it, but I'm running very, very low on suit power here. I have some batteries, but I don't really want to use them. So I'm going to have to charge the... there we go. Down to 20% battery. just head back to the SRV, I guess. Battery will immediately charge once I enter the SRV cockpit. In this respect, it's a bit like a submersible in Subnautica. Your oxygen instantly recharges every time you swing back to the cockpit of your submersible. The SRV functions in pretty much exactly the same way here in Elite.
Drive assist on.
And now back to my ship. Let's go and hand this mission in. Now, because this was a job that I took on from a mission terminal, I can disembark from the ship and head to the station concourse and hand the mission in at the nearest mission terminal there, but I don't have to. I can actually do it from the cockpit and access the Starport Services menu. And let's go to the mission board. And there we go, completed missions in blue on the right. Hand this in, we'll take the credits, 172, nearly 173,000. It's not a lot, but it works out to more than 200,000 when you also take into account the 50,000 credit mission bonus that I got for disposing of the 5 scavengers, and that's before even claiming the individual bounties on the heads of those 5 scavengers, which is likely to bring the total up to around 250,000. And even then, that's not all. I picked up a bunch of loot which I'm going to be able to sell to the total earned up to about 300,000 credits, which isn't bad for what was a pretty straightforward and simple mission. Unfortunately, it was here where I ran into another bug. The barkeeper seemed to be a lot shorter than I remember. Are you sure you're old enough to be working behind a bar, young lady? What the hell's going on? I don't seem to be able to get close enough to actually interact. Can I get behind the bar? No, I can't. You see the problem? Yeah. She's not the only one. Look at this mission giver. Oh well. At this point, considering the amount of problems and crashes to desktop and main menu that I'd suffered even trying to start this mission, I'm not that worried about not being able to get rid of the loot too. I mean, it's not going anywhere, it's still in my inventory. So I'm quite happy to call this one a day. I feel like I've come out ahead for once. And I hope you've enjoyed watching it, because that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.